Great film, guys. Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning. Great film. I got my early access poster here. Well, as posters go, but 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 film. Tom Cruise never disappoints. It was different. It was unique, and I think that you guys are going to love this film. And I'm going to tell you why. I this it's just 10 out of 10, man. It was good. It was good. It was emotionally filled. There was a lot at stake. There was drive. There was adventure. There was a sense of entertainment like no other. I thought that was good. And I know you guys are going to love this film. I do encourage you to see it as soon as possible so that you don't get caught out of the loop as to this film. But there are 10 things that make a good movie, and so we're going to run through them really quickly. Let's talk about the plot, the story arc, and plausibility. Ethan Hunt finds himself in a fight against the entity. Now, for me personally, looking at what makes a good movie extraordinary by plot, story arc, and plausibility, if you're going to portray a villain, right, his toughest villain he's ever fought yet, at some point you have to step off the grid and say, hey, you know what? It can't just be humans. And what I loved about this film, this plot, and this story arc and possibility was, one, this villain was from Ethan's past. In fact, he is definitely confirmed to be prior to Ethan's IMF days. He's a villain from Ethan's past, a blast from the past. And the way they interwove him into this story arc was phenomenal. Ethan's character in his story was definitely developed in the plot. And what made it all the more exciting was that he's coping or going against a literal physical villain, but he's also dealing with a mental challenge. A villain that knows his every move before he possibly could know the move that he's going to make. He is playing a mental game like no other. And I thought that made this movie phenomenal. Number 2, attraction, the premise and entertainment value. Almost every scene was doused in action, adventure, excitement. I mean, you're on the edge of your seat from the moment that film starts. You are not ever bored. You're not unentertained, and I think that's phenomenal. One thing that really stood out to me was the code they chose to use before Ethan accepted his new mission. We live and die in the shadows for those we hold close and those we never meet. What a powerful quote, man. I know right now for me, it's a moment in human history right now for a lot of people where we just don't trust people the way we used to. And so to be entertained by a story in which Ethan is going against persons that he doesn't trust, that's something that's entertaining. Because that is what a secret organization is supposed to be based on, right? It's a secret organization supposed to be based on trust. But the entertainment value, as well as the practicality of it and how you can be attracted to it, I would say definitely. Got to give him a point for that. That plot, number 2 is attraction. Number 3, identity and depth, the theme of the film. Unlike any other Mission Impossible movie, if you've seen 1 through 6, what I really appreciate personally about this film is that it tests Ethan in a way that he's never been tested before. There is tremendous loss, and there's a lot at stake. The identity and the depth that this man goes through in this film is ridiculous. You can even tell by how his character is brought in at the beginning of the film. It's not the traditional, he gets a mission, he goes out to handle the mission, and then he's moving on. No, he literally has to cope with his past, the depth of his past. I think we all have to at some point in our lives, And then the fact that the organizations that he's supposed to trust and be fighting for are the ones that are working collectively against him. If there is theme, the year of theme for this movie in 2023, I would say they definitely hit the nail on the head. Like, we've had some great depth and identity in this film, and it's phenomenal, man. And I'm getting emotional. And I'm getting emotional because there are so many areas in my life where I can see me relating to this film. And that's what it's truly about. It's not a matter of whether, oh, I didn't feel as though this or that. It's when you do a review like this, you have to make sure that you're unbiased about it. I went in that movie theater, no expectations. And I came out of that movie theater feeling rejuvenated, refreshed, excited. Number 4, the acting. You know, I can really appreciate when they don't try to get a celebrity villain in every film to draw people in. You trust that your movie is good because it's a good film. I would say I definitely enjoyed Tom Cruise's portrayal of Ethan Hunt in this series, this movie, the most, because it's the most realistic. It's the most vulnerable that he's ever been, and he really drives home the meaning of a hero. Sometimes you're going to have to lose. That's just what it is. And so the acting from Tom Cruise is very, 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 very good. I thought that Shea Wiggum, he did a phenomenal job. He's the cop that's pursuing Ethan along with his partner. And I have to give a shout out to the villain, Esai Morales. He did phenomenal as Gabriel. And the reason why I enjoyed him so much was because he wasn't the traditional threatening you villain. He is more of the getting your mind type of villain. And he's going to try to eat you from the inside out. It's like he's a villain that plants rusts inside of you and allows it to just eat away at your soul. I would even liken him to a cancer, man. And I like the way he portrayed himself as a villain. He did a phenomenal job. Very sophisticated man. He kept a nice, mysterious, ominous tone to himself. And I thought that was really, really well portrayed here. Number 5, the dialogue, the storytelling, and the context. The storytelling was ridiculous, man. How they brought together the idea of a computerized villain. Something that is out to get you, that studies you each and every day. For example, a human villain can only know so much about you. But to portray a villain, a storytell victim that knows your every move, that really, really puts the circumstances in dire straits. Like you literally have to mentally think about how the character is going to be able to work his way out of this. So great storytelling, great choice of villain, especially with the times we're living in, with the controversies going on with AI and whatnot. That makes the dialogue strong. I have no problem with the dialogue. I will have to say though, and this is just my personal opinion on the matter, but the quote, "We live and die in the shadows for those we hold close and those we never meet," that really was touching. And I thought that was phenomenal because that literally carried through the entire film in connection with the dialogue. Number 6, cinematography. This movie was filmed very differently than all of the other Mission Impossibles. I feel like they definitely did a lot of camera work, experimenting. There was one little tiny scene in the train where it looked a bit fake. But right now, it's just not enough for me to dock them for cinematography. Everything else was phenomenal. I loved the choice of camera work that they had. There was a nice chase scene in connection with cars that developed, and there was a nice couple of scenes in which people are conversing, and you can just see the different angle work. You can see the different dynamics at play in connection with the film. And it was nice because other Mission Impossible films are not that way. Like this was a very, very unique film that stood out. Number 7, the editing, the pace, and the effects. It was very good. I didn't feel overwhelmed. I didn't feel like the movie was dragging. I didn't feel like anything was lacking. I feel like everything was brought to the table the way it should have been brought, and I thought that made the editing and pacing and effect just so smooth, just smooth with it. Number 8, the soundtrack. We can always count on that classic Mission Impossible theme song, sound design, and film score. But there are moments where they were going in on that action music, man. It was just, it had me gripping on the edge of my seat. You know, I even got swelled up in the eyes, started tearing a little bit because it really captivates you. If you're someone who grew up with these films, if you're someone who watches these films, loves and cherishes them, and you come into this film with an unbiased attitude and you watch it just as a film and just, it really does bring home the soundtrack, man. Like that really made a difference for me, and they did phenomenal, man. Number 9, directing. That's always the vision and the execution. And one thing I can appreciate about that is to direct something or to want something to go one direction and then execute it another way. As a director, that's not an easy task. They did it, man. There was a scene that took place in connection with Ilsa and the villain here, Gabriel. And the director could have directed that particular scene any kind of way. But the way that he executed it, he did it in such a way that you would feel, even though you might have known something was coming, you still lingered on to the hope that what you think might happen might not happen. Solid execution. And you see that constantly throughout the film, over and over and over and over again, that this kind of execution and delivery is going to take place. Like, you literally are going to want to finish the end of the movie because you're so invested in it. Number 10, the it factor. One of a kind and transcendent. What made this movie the it factor for me? What put this movie the big 10 out of 10 for me? Well, I'll tell you. Character development. You're on your 7th film, part 1, I might add. When you look at a film and you're trying to talk about the fact that this is the 7th movie, right? You think about the fact that this is the 7th movie. If there's no character development, if there is no truth, honesty, justice, something that you can relate to, then it doesn't make any sense. I think personally, as human beings, you shouldn't be the same if your life was, categorized by movies. If your life was 7 movies later, you shouldn't be the same person. If you're the same person, you're uninteresting, you're boring, you're obsolete. And that wasn't the case here. What I thought after watching this film, the growth is there. I mean, the film is called Dead Reckoning. So I was expecting to see something in Ethan's character more so than just the adversary he was going to face. That's extremely important to me. When you're focused on an it factor that makes something one of a kind, it has to have not been done before. It has to stand out from the other movies in the franchise. And it has to make you feel a certain way. And I'm going to tell you guys, I felt good leaving that theater. It was emotional, man. And I do encourage you guys to see that film. See it. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. It opens publicly to persons Wednesday, July the 12th. But other than that, the cinema scale is ruling that bad boy 10 out of 10. Watch it, love it, meditate on it, cherish it. And in that way, you can really be able to see that it's not about an opinion. It's literally accurately weighing the movie for you. Other than that, guys, go ahead as soon as possible. Go see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Peace out, and we love you.